Palantir is ramping up hiring, making deals, and onboarding new customers, or at least attempting to at scale, with new programs and products this week. Now, looking at the stock first briefly, we've got a pretty flat week after the earnings drop, bouncing around the $21 range. So we'll continue to keep a lookout considering all the market action that was happening earlier this week. Now, starting with short interest data, which is new, we got as of April 30th, 2024. So technically, this is before the volatility around earnings running up and then coming back down. But it stayed pretty flat at a 1% increase, with 4.16% of the float sold short at 78.7 million shares total. So the next release is what I'm more interested in actually, since that will let us know if after earnings we got more short positions opened or if we continue to see this stay stable. Then we've got a few blog posts from Palantir as well, one where they gave their recommendation around policy to the OMB, or Office of Management and Budget, and their effects on privacy impact assessments. Now, in a nutshell, it continues to stay aligned with their mission that we always hear about around data privacy, while still being able to leverage the power of technology, which they believe the agencies have the ability to use with a few tweaks, which is why they gave their 2 cents with recommendations around the technology, infrastructure, as well as the guidelines that they can produce that they think would work best among agency sharing. And then the reasoning for writing this blog is because of the continued innovation in AI, as well as the increasing of its usage, not only commercially, but also in the government aspect. So they'd rather try getting their opinion out first, in which, of course, that would be favorable to their business and products, but still for the overall system to work correctly, at least from their point of view. Then we got a really different kind of blog post too that we haven't seen from Palantir before. They basically did a huge list of managers from Palantir who are looking to hire for the early talent program. These positions are mainly focused in engineering at the internship or recent graduate level, so it's really fresh sets of professionals getting out into the workforce. Now, there were a lot of themes that are familiar from whenever we hear from management speak, but also some ground level perspective we don't get to hear really, like the importance of mentorships as well as career development, and the focus on the shortcomings as it. And really, the focus seems to be doubling down on your strengths and advantages as well as maximizing those out while you're working as a team where you can have other folks cover your shortcomings. So it's a philosophy that may or may not resonate with you or the way you want to run an organization. But we also hear another common theme of employees seeing their direct impact on the world through their work, with notable examples, of course, preventing wildfires, which probably meant this person worked with PG&E out in California, and then also Ukraine, which is from one of the early Gotham people. And another aspect that I liked too, hearing as an investor, is some of the tenure of these people, with one mentioning being at Palantir for the past 13 years since 2011, seeing how they've grown and changed over time as an organization, but still being able to do fresh, interesting work today. So if you have the time, it's a nice piece to get a deeper understanding of the less seen faces of Palantir. Then we've got a monumental moment for me, at least I'd say, that Palantir YouTube, or even just general Palantir retail investor community, Amit and Arnie had the chance at the recent AI Expo to do a sit-down of 20 minutes, and this is interviewing Palantir's CTO, Shyam Sankar. They covered plenty of topics, some we haven't heard too much recently about, like FedStart, as well as questions around the whole AI space in general, which is Palantir's perspective on large language models, commoditizing, and the future of this. And when I brought this up in my Palantir Daily this week, there were some swirls around why they don't ask about insider selling and the stock price, which doesn't really make sense for me personally for them to ask that kind of stuff, and really isn't good form either, considering 99% of the time, any C-suite from a publicly traded company, not just Palantir, would just say some version of concentrating on the fundamentals and growing the business, and then the stock price will do as it does based on how the market perceives them. So to me, that's the answer they should give to cover if that were ever to be asked and cover their own bases, and would end up just being a waste of time. As well as insider selling, a lot of folks know these are trading plans because A, it covers their bases legally and regulation-wise from the SEC, and B, the most recent sales from Peter Thiel, which might seem like a lot of shares, are still more symbolic considering his position and distance from the day-to-day operations of the company. But that's just my opinion on the matter. Let me know in the comments if you guys agree or disagree. Then we've got an awesome demo release, which is a product of perfectly timed in my opinion, as more and more new versions and just new LLMs come out onto the market with each passing day. For a TLDR, AIP evaluations is a way for businesses to test out the performance, cost, and just general value of a certain model or even a combination of models when applying it to AIP applications. So they did a really straightforward example of how an out-of-the-box model performed. Then they tweaked it just a little bit and then combined it with another model, and then along the way they showed the progression of its accuracy and time to run. Now, waiting several seconds for the better performance might not seem like a lot for an individual case, but apply it to an automated process that repeatedly runs or needs to be applied to a larger data set or just a larger application or just a wider group of users, and this will add up to real dollars and compute time. So AIP evaluations is perfectly timed for this environment where businesses are still figuring out what models will work best for them at a reasonable cost, so check out the demo when you have a chance. Then we've got a little slide for an event coming out from Helsinki where Palantir alongside a bunch of other companies and investment funds talk about the defense out in Nordic countries. So we know they'll be speaking there, but not sure who exactly. But obviously this region is dealing with geopolitical tensions with their nearby neighbor of Russia. And this most likely alludes to at least Palantir trying to continue building their name out there as a military contractor, considering we've got 2 new NATO members with Sweden and Finland nearby that fall directly in this region here of the world and obviously joined because of Russia's aggression. Now, we know in general, Eastern Europe, in comparison to the decline in Western Europe, has a bit more openness and just plain need and demand for Palantir's products because of what Ukraine is currently going through in their war, which is a nearby neighbor. So it won't be surprising to see, like last time, where Karp got to meet world leaders, where he's out in this part of the world, and if you were to attend the event here, we'll just see. Then we've got a new deal, which I'll put in air quotes since in my daily video I covered they've been working with this Swiss media company, Ringier, since 2018. But recently got them for another 5 years under AIP, but that's just under the expansion side since they've been using Foundry already. So this 5-year partnership is a huge one, at least because A, it shows Palantir's ability to cross-sell more products, especially for existing customers who can supercharge their AIP experience and value with the prior setups on Foundry. But also B, just the sheer amount of use cases and their usages expands for existing customers. It's noted in the PR that Ringier is going to expand their usage of Palantir across more functions of their business, and honestly, advertisement targeting and content refining is in the realm of Palantir's products if the data exists to get the insights. So unfortunately, we don't get a dollar amount here specifically, but we'll see in the next few years if they decide to continue expanding their use of Palantir and sign longer deals or even bigger ones with a dollar amount. Then we've got a quick 2-minute video drop by Palantir themselves about their build with AIP platform. In their X post, they noted the first 100 signups through their link will get a free trial access to the platform. You'll get $500 of free compute, so they'll make sure to get your credit card info, but essentially you get the use cases and practice as a developer to learn how to use Palantir's AIP for whatever applications you're trying to build out or test. Now, the significance here is that this is the second time that they're pushing this, with the first being from the AI Expo, giving it away for the first 400 people when Sham did his speaking portion. So I personally see this as their foray into individual developer levels to get more exposure before people even have a chance to run into it in the wild, say at an enterprise when you're working there, who's already adopted Palantir, which we know is a smaller chance. So while boot camps bring in the enterprises and the businesses, why not get the workforce ready at least a little bit before they even enter these companies? Or better yet, expose it to new enterprises by being recommended by developers who enjoyed it and see the capabilities of AIP from their own hands-on experience. So I know it's still early on for this, but these early starts will have compounding effects over time if they are successful in rapidly deploying this to more and more people. And who knows, it may be a pretty penny if individuals start to use more computing because they successfully build valuable applications on their own and scale them. What are your thoughts below for this week? And I'll see you in the next video.